MXGP Race 1. The MXGP of Sumbawa, Indonesia. Who will it be that grabs that all-important foxhole shot? The charge downhill into a sweeping right-hand turn. Back to the outside. Gate drops. Yesterday over on the left-hand side, it was Romain Febvre, and it's Febvre again who bursts into the lead. And Febvre leads with his second foxhole shot of the campaign. Mitch Evans right there in third place, but Prado in second, splitting the two Kawasaki riders. Over the line for the first time. Third place, Mitch Evans. Fourth place, Siwa. Cold enough around the outside of him in fifth. Fernandez in sixth. Fernandez just coming into land there, and then Valandrin looks like in seventh, just tiptoeing his way around the outside, inside there, then Guillaume in eighth place. But it's Febvre who leads on the opening lap, pursued by the championship leader, who will want to get to the front as early as possible and try, not just over Jeffrey Hurlings, but over Romain Febvre as well. Uphill wave section, not easy to negotiate, and you can see how dry it is on the run up there and how dry it is here. A little bit of chalk dust kicking up from the inside of the turn there. That's how dry it is compared to MX2 race 1 earlier. So with that dryness, there'll be a lot more unpredictability, a lot more loose stones and hidden dangers lurking beneath the dust there. Down Monster Energy Mountain for the first time. Febvre breaking free immediately from Jorge Prado. These conditions not too dissimilar to what they had in the qualifying race Saturday afternoon. Launching the triple on the opening lap. A lot more riders getting the distance this year. Only a couple of riders were keen to do that last year when we were here. Evans there in fourth place. So Siwa finding his way past Evans on this opening lap. Moves into third and goes immediately after Jorge Prado. The Smurf will believe that he can win this time around. But he also knows that a good start was needed to get on terms with the likes of Febvre and Prado. And Kawasaki coming up with an absolute rocket ship at the moment. Whole shot in the qualifying race, foxhole shot in race 1. Giving Febvre all the tools he needs to make his job as easy as possible. Febvre fastest lap on that opening lap, 2:01.8, 2:02.4, 2:02.6 for Prado and Siwa respectively. Guillaume up to 7th. Valandrin had an untidy lap. He's down in 8th place. Paturel is up to 9th. Petrov down to 10th. Ferrato, who struggled with the tricky nature of the racetrack yesterday, Albi Ferrato, he is up to 11th place ahead of Ben Watson. And then Osland is 13, Lupino 14, and then Rousior rounding out the top 15 for JWR. Goldenhoff down the inside of Evans, who goes wide. Goldenhoff will cut to the inside. Will he get the job done? When he gets good drive, he gets alongside, but then Evans just gets back in front momentarily. But Goldenhoff does make the pass, and he moves into 4th place on the second lap here. Fernandez just behind there. Evans having a bit of a comeback here. He goes 2-1 and Goldenhoff triples his way up. So we've got Febvre leading the way from Prado. Siwa 3rd. There he is, just going out of shot. There's Goldenhoff now 4th. Evans in green 5th. Fernandez in 6th. How hard will these riders push in the opening laps? Well, a 2:01 lap time. That's similar to what they had in morning warm-up. And in the qualifying race yesterday, the fastest lap was a 2:01. So probably as fast as they can be. Time practice was 1:55, but smoother track conditions yesterday afternoon. under the fastest lap of the race for Prado, for Febvre, but he's still only about 1.5 seconds, 1.6 clear of Prado. So Febvre just trying to escape ever so slightly. Both riders quicker than the 91 of Siwa though. But Koldenhoff, wow, what a time for him, 2:01.08 compared to a 2:02.4 for Siwa. So how long will it be before the Dutchman closes in on his Swiss teammate? That's these two here, third and fourth, Siwa and Koldenhoff. That's what it looks like if you come up short. The camera from above there, as Fernandez looks to go around the outside of Evans. Evans up the inside. And Fernandez looks like he's got the better. Not quite. He has to work his magic at the top of the hill. He gets alongside the Australian, and he does move by into 5th place. Evans coming back for more though. Fernandez says no way. He says, I will take that 5th place if you don't mind. Evans just gets the door closed in his face at the top of the hill. Looks to go around the outside of the Spaniard, but inside-outside works quicker and better, more effectively through those series of S-bends. Guillaume lining up now behind the 43. But good to see the Aussie there putting up a fight. Got his best finish of the season so far this year in Germany, 7th overall. But Guillaume tripling his way downhill. You see the difference that makes. It does push you slightly wide, but you still have to roll those first 3 and then try and double up onto this plateau if you can. Koldenhoff is closer to Siwa this time around, but it's Fernandez with the fastest lap of the race, a 2 minutes, 0.8. As he moves into 5th and chases down the 2 Monster Energy Yamahas ahead of him. So what next for the Team HRC rider? Fernandez opting for the same outside-inside cutback, occupied by Koldenhoff a moment ago. There's your leaders, top right corner of your screen. Gap about 1.8 as they hit the line a moment ago, but it looks like it's been reduced ever so slightly. Prado might just be getting a bit of a move on here. Almost identical time, sector 1, 29.6, 29.5 for Febvre and Prado. 29.7 for Siwa, 30.2 for Koldenhoff. But Febvre, Prado and Siwa, the first 3 of those putting in their best sector 2 times, 33.2, 33.0 and 33.07. Hard and slick. Riders know that a good result in race 1 will set them up perfectly for race 2, but blow yourself out in race 1 and all of a sudden race 2 becomes an absolute nightmare, certainly the first half of the race. Because if you're spent after race 1, you'll have nothing in the tank for race 2, or if you do manage to salvage something, the recovery process is a lot harder to refuel, rehydrate between races. There are pools out in the paddock, not ice baths exactly, but there are areas where the riders can cool down just to bring their core temperature back down between races. But that alone doesn't do the trick. Fueling your body with the right nutrients and hydration drinks is the key to getting through this weekend, especially in this MXGP category. Gap still 1.9 seconds between Febvre and Prado. Here is Kawasaki Racing Team MXGP's Romain Febvre leading the way. Prado the fastest lap of the race though by about 100th of a second, possibly 1,000th of a second. So literally nothing in it between the Kawasaki and the Red Bull Gas that time around. Siwa still 2.6 seconds adrift of Prado. Inside is a little bit nadry on the exit, isn't it? A little bit choppy, you just almost have to fall into that city downhill. Koldenhoff about 2.3, at 1.4 behind Siwa, so did look like he was on terms with his teammate, but not able to do anything about him for now, but one rider who is starting to gain a little bit of momentum here. Great view of the podium there as we chase down the leaders. Here we go. Imagine if there was a pass at that moment. No one would have ever known. Love it. Fevre realises the threat is real from Prado. Fevre, one of those riders, he knows how to manage a race, knows he doesn't need to panic, and if there is a threat of a pass, of course he will dive back in immediately at the first opportunity. .6 the gap. Prado reels him in by about 3/10. See, we're losing ground, not too much though. He was on par with Prado, but gained a little bit on Fevre. Fernandez not making any inroads either, is he? No, 2:02.5. Different lines at the top of the hill there. Fevre spinning his way around the outside. Prado jumping in, stop-start. A little bit untidy at the bottom of the hill. That would have cost him some time though. Just wasn't able to pick his line effectively enough. This time Prado opts for the outside line to double his way down that city step down. A lot of physical elements to this racetrack because the off-cambers on the bottom of those hills on that side of the valley and those ruts having to work, then you're pulling up on the handlebars uphill immediately. One of those hills is just with a couple of rollers, the other one's got 5 waves there, so there's a lot of work from stop and start at the bottom of the hills. A lot to think about on this racetrack. Changing nature of the dirt. Hard and slick in areas, deep and loam in others, next to nothing and just loose powder dirt on other parts of the racetrack. And then hard braking zones as well, because when you swing through turn 1 and triple down into the bottom of the hill here, you're landing even harder on the brakes. The 2 leaders though opting to go double single. Six laps complete. Gap now 2.2. So Fevre 2:05 compared to a 2:01.09 of Prado. How hard and edgy it is coming out of turn 5, bottom of the hill there, and slip. Which means only one thing: when they put water down on the track between the motos, MX2 riders will need to be mindful of what's lying down in the dark areas of the racetrack. Oh, good improvisation on the line there from Fevre. Prado not letting him out of his sights though, is he? See what the gap is when they hit sector 2. 2.2 after sector 1 still, as it was as they hit the line. Right, Guillot and Petrov have made mistakes because Valandren up to 7, Patrel 8, Ferrato 9, Lupino 10. Guillot is down from 7th place into 11th position. What other battles have we got on the track? Because these two are about 2 seconds apart. Seawer is 3 seconds behind. He's got his teammate 3 seconds behind him. Fernandez 7 adrift. 3 seconds behind Koldenhoff. Then Evans still hanging on to 6th place. 7 behind Fernandez, who is 2 clear of Valandren. So the gaps are all pretty sizable between the 10 or 11 riders. Take a look at the battle for 6th place though between Evans, Valandren and Paturel. Here we go. So Mitch Evans, the second of the factory Kawasaki riders, still going 2-1 as Valandren triples his way to the top of the hill for Kevin van Benrooy. Yamaha. Can Evans stay there in that 6th position, because the rider who sits 19th in the championship went 9-6 a week ago, or 2 weeks ago in Germany. So he will equal his best race finish of the season if he can keep ahead of Calvin Valandren. There is Valandren. And then just coming into view, Benoit Paturel on the Debarts Yamaha. Remember, he knocked himself out a bit. Missed the German round. Didn't score in Latvia either, didn't he? He went down hard in the first turn in race 1. So good to see Benoit Paturel back out on track, but he is about 3 seconds behind these two. But good showing this from Mitch Evans. 6th overall here last year, so a place that he has a good affinity with. And looking good here, and good to see his brother Richie here as well this weekend. Just a little bit of moral and family support this side of the world. Sometimes people don't understand and underestimate when you come from Australia and you go and park yourself. But same with Calvin Vlaanderen, coming from South Africa, parking yourself up in Europe. A little bit of family network support goes a long way. Just gives you that little sense of home, even for just a week or 10 days. And Evans getting that support from his brother this weekend in abundance. Both those riders, Evans and Vlaanderen, setting their fastest laps this time around. 2:03.1 for Evans, 2:02.5 for Vlaanderen. As Evans continues to improve. And what has been the difficult season where he missed the first few rounds with a thumb injury. Still not a lot in it between the top two, Febvre and Prado. Gap still hovering around 2 seconds. Jeremy Seewer getting closer as well. That's what it looked like from that camera angle. Oh, Prado looking creative, but was that a mistake? Trying to ride around the bank there. Did it cost him any time, yes or no? Didn't seem to. 2:02.4, 2:02.7. Fastest rider in the top three, though, Jeremy Seewer. 2:01.7, a full quicker than Prado that time around. He's still 2 seconds behind the Spaniard, though. Koldenhoff, the fastest rider out of the top four, a 2:07. So even quicker still. So is there going to be a late charge from both of the Monster Energy Yamahas here as they try to close in on the Kawasaki and the Red Bull Gas of Febvre and Prado, respectively, who continue to lead the race? Rubbing my hands together in delight here at the moment. Could do with a late charge here, just to spice things up a little bit. Seat Pounce, double downhill. Seewer just a little bit short there, and I'm not talking about his size. Short on the landing, obviously, before the Smurf fans bombard me. Jez has got a good sense of humour, though. He can take it all in his stride, even though it's a little bit short of the most. That stride pattern. Koldenhoff looking good here. That is a great shot from that camera there. Gives you the hang time of the riders as they hit that ram triple. From the side and from the front, it doesn't look like they get much air time, but when you look at it from that angle, it gives you a real indication as to how much height they're getting. About 30 metres or so, 33 metres I think it is, from point to point. So they are absolutely full whack, committed to getting over that triple. Another rider with his fastest lap last time around. Again, back-to-back laps, Evans, 2:02.7. But working our way towards the end of lap 9 as Febvre and Prado hit the line. 3 seconds apart now. 2.5 between Prado and Seewer. And Koldenhoff, 2.7 seconds. So the spice is on hold for now. Great methodical race this for Romain Febvre as we take a look at the replay of the start and saw how he took his second foxhole shot of the season. Over on the left, dropping down through that Talladega style bank turn. Oh, about a half a bike length in it between him and Jezza. Prado quickly into second at the bottom of the hill though. But it was Romain Febvre, Kawasaki Racing Team MXGP, with his second foxhole shot of the season. And he looks like turning it into 25 points once again. And Romain Febvre already with just the one race win, looking to make it 2 race wins for the season. Notching up quite a few in his race win count as well. 38 race wins so far for Romain Febvre, so he'll be looking at making it 39 if he can stay where he is. Wow, 10 minutes, it's +2 to go. This race is really starting to drag on a little bit here. I was waiting for the spice, but instead I'm going to have to reorder another can of dry paint, I think. Back marker on the horizon there. The Frenchman living in Thailand, Lionel Caroas. He's got styles as he hits the finish line jump. Oh, I tell you what, he had a bit of a whip there, a bit of a bum whip. It was impressive. It's the most stylish he's been all weekend. Oh, in fact, it was the Australian. That's why there was a little bit more style there. Nicholas Murray. I was talking to him earlier. He rode here last year. So good to see Nick Murray out here on track. Of course, Lewis Stewart, who from Australia, but resides on the island of Bali now, married to an Indonesian. Moved back here full-time from Melbourne, so good to see him back in the paddock. Right, let's go a little bit further down the order, shall we? Benoit Pacharel that was, and Albi Ferrato. As Verlandren, just ahead of them, was alongside Evans. Here they are, coming uphill. Just ahead of these two, looks like Verlandren is around the outside of Evans. Coming towards us here. Yeah, Verlandren has found his way through. Because we were looking at this battle, that isn't really a battle at the minute. So Verlandren has found his way past Evans as we were focusing on these two. There you see them at the bottom of the hill. So Verlandren then up into 6th place. Hopefully our man on the moon has a good angle of that. Our moon cam, because Verlandren, we saw he was closing in on Evans. But Benoit Pacharel doing a fantastic job here in that 8th place. So too Albi Ferrato, actually, the SM Action Racing Team USA Battery KTM rider, because he struggled yesterday in the qualifying race. Albi Ferrato struggled with the heat, he's struggling with jet lag, he's not getting sleep. He was wide awake at 3 o'clock this morning when I spoke to him after the or before the warm-up session, and he said the ground is just really strange, difficult to understand the texture. And all of a sudden Evans under attack now from Pacharel. So Verlandren has made his move, and he's left Evans to deal with the Belgian, with the Frenchman, Benoit Pacharel. All this on lap 12. One of the things that Evans dealing with at the moment is obviously he's found some good settings on the bike in the last few weeks. Of course, that means he's been able to up his pace, but then trying to maintain that pace takes a lot more physical element to, you know, to sort of ride at that pace. And just running out of legs in the latter stages of this race, and that's allowed a couple of riders to go by. Evans finds himself in 7th place, but for how much longer? Because Pacharel and Ferrato are looking to gain another couple of points here. This is around the area on the racetrack where Verlandren went through. Oh, and Ferrato trying to lunge down the inside of Benoit Pacharel. He might go the long way round here as well. And a twofer for Ferrato. He splits the two riders and he goes past Evans and Benoit Pacharel, and he moves up into 7th place. 2 for 1 for Ferrato. One sweet move. Pacharel got held up, couldn't decide which way to find his way past Evans, and Ferrato said, well, while you're struggling to decide, guess what? I'm going to take this route. Pacharel this time does get alongside, but not able to make the pass at the top of the hill. Evans keeps him back there for a little while longer as Ferrato escapes in the distance. A look over the shoulder, a nervous look over the shoulder there from Evans. Wanted to know if Pacharel was there to his left-hand side. So Ferrato now up in the 7th place. Evans 8th. Benoit Paturel in 9th position. He started the lap in 8th place, of course. Will he cut back? Oh, Fevre throws it away. Has he lost the lead? Yes, he has. Watch this. Lights up the back end. Is that down the finish hill? I think it is. After the finish line. Hard and slick there. There's Prado going through. We have a new leader on lap 13. So just this corner here, down this hill, is where Romain Fevre fell from the lead. And he's now under pressure from Jeremy Seewer. He had 3.6 seconds in his pocket, and now he's having to regroup and reassert himself here. But Seewer is not going to make it easy for him. So Jorge Prado, now all of a sudden, the man in the driving seat. Jorge Prado already with 7 race wins under his belt this year, disappearing uphill towards the Ram Triple. Jeremy Seewer needs to act fast and not allow Fevre to regain his composure. He needs to apply the pressure and force him into an error. Here's Prado, bottom corner of your screen. And there is Fevre. Right, your new race leader, Jorge Prado. Remember, he had about 6 seconds deficit. He's now about 3.6 seconds. We'll do the maths, but it was a costly error. Yeah, it's costing about 12 seconds, that mistake from Romain Fevre. So we're on lap 14. Jorge Prado lost the toe to Romain Fevre. And it was Fevre who looked the coolest out on track that made that mistake. Exit of turn 4, downhill. You can see how shiny that ground is. And the back end just lit up on him and he crashed down to earth, threw away a 6-second advantage. And he's now 6 seconds adrift with Seewer right there behind him. But Fevre has regrouped and regrouped well, and he's shaken off the Swiss. But 2:11 on the clock. Oh, and he just stands himself up there in that turn. Paturel has found his way past Evans, by the way. So he now moves into 8th place. Evans down to 9th. .204 there, Hilman Maxim of Indonesia. In red, just doing his best to move out of the way. All of a sudden, Seewer, can he do anything about Fevre? It looked like he gained a little bit of ground there. 6/10 in sector 2. Lost them again in... Let's have a look. 30.2, 30.6. Oh, Fernandez and Valandren. Fernandez in 5th, under attack from Calvin Valandren. Spoke to Valandren this morning after the warm-up and said he actually likes the heat, doesn't mind the heat. So looking for a large and a late pass on the Spaniard, number 70, Team HRC, who makes a mistake, just misses the exit of the line there. Looks like he's in cruise mode as he goes through those 3 rollers, and that has given momentum to Valandren. Can't find his way around the outside, but nothing in it between 5th and 6th as they hit the line at the end of lap 14. Fernandez just looks like he's ran out of steam. That is going to be one hard recovery ahead of race 2. Valandren definitely getting the bit between his teeth here. knocking on the door for 5th position. Looks to go around the outside. Every time he does that, Fernandez will have the helmet radar on. He'll cut to the inside here. Oh, he can't muscle his way through. Fernandez read it well, actually. Didn't go as wide as he needed to, but there's a couple of back markers here on the horizon. He can hear every move that Verlanderen is making, and he gets a little bit of respite there as he doubles downhill. Gives himself a bit of gap over Verlanderen, but much longer. Tense times for Fernandez with 3 to go. And Verlanderen needs to regroup himself and have another throw of the dice, another stab at the cherry. Fernandez doing what he did in the qualifying race, actually, where he lost his way for a couple of laps, but then eventually settled himself down, and it was Verlanderen, the rider in the qualifying race, that was able to close him down and then just lost that momentum as Fernandez regrouped. A case of deja vu between Fernandez and Verlanderen, it seems, in race 1. Prado hits the line, the Roman Fevre, and things are all aligning perfectly well for Jorge Prado at the moment. This could be his year to lift the MXGP crown, even at the halfway stage of the championship. It looks that way. Still 6.5 seconds separate the leaders. And where is Seaworth? Well, he was still about 1.3 seconds behind. Making his way into the final lap. The Red Bull Gas, Jorge Prado. .6 seconds, but I can't see the Spaniard giving up that lead unless he just makes a simple error in a turn, can just hold the front, you never know. But at the moment, he's looking pretty calm at the head of the field. There he is in that next left-hander, top of the hill. And Fevre, with a 2:05.4, may have other ideas, because he has gapped Seaworth to the tune of about 2.3. Seaworth has nothing for Fevre going into this final lap, and that gap may just keep coming down, you know. Fevre may have just regained his confidence and his composure. 31.6, 34.14 at sector 1. 2/10 is not going to cut it, though. That is the problem. There is Prado, just cresting the hill out of this next right. He'll hit sector 2 at the top of the hill here. A 35.8 for Prado. And a 36.1, so yeah, gap back out to 4.6, so looks like Prado will have enough in hand. Even if it did look like Fevre may throw something at him on this final lap, but not able to, but he will be absolutely frustrated that he couldn't win this one. A 6-second advantage, threw it away while he was so comfortable out in front, but possible simple lapse in concentration for the number 3, Fevre. back down the start straight. And the length of the start straight, the gap between these two, with just now 2 corners to go. Tried to go with Febvre at the beginning of the race. Wasn't able to. Febvre pulled out a gap, and then that mistake from the Frenchman allowed him back in. And once there, he didn't relinquish it. And out of the final turn, Jorge Prado wins race 1 and takes his 8th race victory of the season. Febvre limps home in second, Seaworth third. We wait for Koldenhoff to come over the line in fourth, almost 11 seconds down, 10.8 seconds adrift. And then Ruben Fernandez was under attack from Valandren, but then Valandren's pace just fell slightly. And in the end, it's Fernandez who does cross the line in 5th position, 8 seconds clear of Valandren. We wait for Ferrato. A good recovery for him, finally getting to grips with the track after a difficult qualifying. He crossed the line in 7th. Patrell here, well, he looks a little bit fatigued and jaded there as he crossed the line in 8th place. Evans 9th, and it will be Guillaume 10th for the ship-to-cycle Honda SR Motor Blues rider. In 11th place for the JWR Honda of Alvin Osland, then the MRT Beta of Ben Watson 12th. Petrov will cross the line next in 13th place, the number 9 for AIT Racing Team Yamaha. And then Hardy Ruziorg, the number 75 on the JWR Honda, will cross the line 14th, ahead of the 336 of Lewis Stewart. Nick Murray will be 16th, Lupino 17th, Hillman Maxim 18th, Leonel Carroas in 19th place. And of course, we will speak to our 8-time race winner this year, Jorge Prado, Red Bull Gas Factory Racing, as soon as he is down there in the winner's circle. But a fantastic ride for Jorge Prado, did everything right, he was well placed when he needed to be. And it looks like that interview is going to take place imminently between Jorge Prado and Lisa Leyland. And I wouldn't be surprised if the heat taking his toll, might just need an extra moment or two just to get some liquid refreshment down. And anyway, here he is. We'll get this one over and done with quickly.
Hey, Prado, things are just getting better and better for you, right where you needed to be when Febvre made his mistake. You're struggling now a bit, though, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing is just to stop. You know, it's the heat today, it's very strong, and I was sitting second, just waiting for the last lap since I had a chance, and he just made a mistake. It's very hard to be 100% focused, and it's just heat, humidity, and the track is very challenging. You got to, there's no flow, so it's not easy.
Get some rest. Thank you.
What looked like an easy and comfortable win for Jorge Prado, but the reality was some more than that. The heat, the humidity, even for your winner from race 1, Jorge Prado, was a difficult challenge to deal with. Not just him, but everybody else. How quickly can they regroup, rehydrate ahead of race 2? That could be the determining factor and the overall outcome of this Grand Prix later on this afternoon. But Jorge Prado wins race 1 for Red Bull Gas Factory Racing. We'll give you the results in a moment, but let's take a look at the highlights of the race first of all, shall we? Here's how it went down in race 1.